Hello, everybody. It is Sunshine Frost. Hopefully, I'm going to be getting to you guys right here. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you letting me be with you today. We're going to be talking about a really good subject, a controversial subject, and a subject that I feel like needs to be addressed. And it's definitely not the easiest subject, but it is, why do we have to die? I feel like I've been asking this question ever since I was like 6 years old, but I finally came to the table with 10 good reasons straight from Spirit. Why do we have to die? And thank you guys for joining us today. I'm so happy to be joined by my One Tribe around the world. For those that are watching in this moment, remember that you can broadcast on your television now. You can also go to the app on your phone. The YouTube app is the only way to comment on the live show. So tell me where you're calling in from right now. Where are you coming from? Miss Caroline says, good evening, sunshine. Andrea Rockwood says, hello, everyone. Selah Mitchell lets me know we are all from the TikTok One Tribe. Spirit Angel Boss is with us today. Hello, sunshine, fellow mods, and the One Tribe. Hello, Miss Carmel Rivera. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. It's been a great day and a great time. So let us know where you're from, and we're so happy to be here on YouTube. You guys know we've been doing this for almost 8 years on Facebook and TikTok, but now we've transitioned straight to YouTube so that everybody can watch us on the big television and so that everybody can be here to watch us in the future. We never know where we're going to be broadcast to. So again, if you want to comment on this, make sure you go to the app on your phone, go to the YouTube app, and subscribe to the channel Spirit Dr. Sunshine Frost. This is where we do all of our Spiritual Academy videos, and this one is no different. I remember when I was young, I used to love to watch Sylvia Browne on Montel Williams. Some of you might not be old enough to know her, but she was a wonderful medium and is actually related to me. And I loved to watch her when I was folding clothes or doing something that seemed so mundane. It just made it feel so magical to watch her and to learn all of these little tidbits about spirit and about life and about our purpose and why we were here. And so I hope that you will watch these videos from me, the Spirit Doctor, at Spiritual Academy, which you're in right now, and on the show Spirit Uncensored. And you're getting into the same vibes, just being able to clean your house. Maybe you want to listen when you're working. Maybe you want to just watch us on, listen to this on the drive or watch it when you're by yourself. The reason I love being on YouTube is that it allows us to watch this in all time zones. At any time you need a little extra energy or good vibrations, you can refer back to one of these videos, and hopefully it's going to do the work of helping you to hear some information and get some support from the One Tribe. So remember that each of these broadcasts are imbued with 20,000 nanograms of positive energy to help you transmute even the darkest moments. So let's go ahead and get our hellos out of the way. I do want to greet everybody because I just love that people come in and I love that they're commenting. So we're really growing on YouTube. We used to be quite big before COVID, but afterward, this is everybody saying hello to everybody. Melissa. Yes, thank you so much. She says, I love Sylvia. She was in my area trying to solve a missing persons years ago. Thank you so much. So Marty says, I have it on the stereo and the TV and my phone. So he's watching it. Remember that you can, if you have a streaming TV or a streaming device, you can actually go ahead and put this on your big screen and just watch the show unless you feel led by spirit or led by your own comments or questions, curiosity to comment on the show, and your comments appear in our live feed and for review. So I love when you guys are very active and ask lots and lots of questions. That's my favorite thing, is when you ask lots and lots of questions, okay? So tonight's topic is, why do we have to die? I just had this discussion with Marty today we were talking and I said, you know what? Why do you think we have to die? What do you think about that? Do you think there's enough material to teach on? Do you think this is a hard topic to conquer? I'm just curious. What do you guys think? And where are you calling in from? Where are you at? Hi, Shorty. Make sure you guys share, like, and love. I see one heart. Can we all heart this broadcast? Can we all share the broadcast? And can we all make sure we sub up? Alicia says, Sunshine, I've been trying to catch you on. I miss your sessions and also have something that has came up and I need your input on it. Alicia, I will be doing live readings again. We're going to start doing the YouTube show twice a week. So my goal is to make Wonderful Wednesdays a day for readings. And then Friday is going to be our live show. So we're going to start doing Wednesday night and Friday night as our YouTubes. We're going to do them 2 nights a week, Wednesday and Friday. And we're going to try to keep this same time slot, which is going to be right around 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'd like to go on 6:30, 7 o'clock. So make sure that you sign in by 6:30, okay? All right, everybody. Let's go ahead and get started with the material. I know we have one that just jumped in from Australia. We did a session today. Miss Kelly Lowry, she is from Australia. She's wanting me to come out there to the beautiful Gold Coast and enjoy some time down under. And she's from Queensland in Australia. We've been working together and I just can't wait. I've been wanting to put my book out for a while and she's absolutely being the catalyst for me to set some priorities and get it done. So here we go. We have New York in the house. I saw Montana, California. So I'm very excited to be teaching this message. Have you guys ever suffered with the death of a person in your life, or you are just drowned in grief over the loss? I know we have some pets that have passed that have really hurt us. We have people as well, loved ones, parents, friends, relationships. So this is a super interesting topic and kind of a difficult one. So I had to really go dig a little deeper. So I'm going to give you 10 reasons that we do need to transition. And I'm going to give you, hopefully these reasons are going to help you to be able to cope with the death or loss of somebody or something that you love very dearly. And hopefully you can refer back to these, because what I believe is that we don't really teach a lot of spirituality in this physical world. We've been taught a lot of things that are based on constructs. We learn a lot of math and English and how to balance a checkbook if we're lucky and how to drive a car. But the most important things that we are neglected to teach is energy, how our energy affects others, why we transition. We don't get taught about our soul. We don't get taught that our ego and our soul are different. We don't understand why we come here. A lot of people are lacking purpose. And the whole purpose of the One Tribe is that we are a soul collective. The One Tribe is a soul collective. It doesn't take money to join the group. It simply requires your energy. So to be part of the One Tribe is as easy as subscribing to the concepts of the One Tribe, which are that number one, we are a soul collective from across the whole earth who are finally seeking to go inward and to do our internal work to make ourselves better people by transmuting bad habits, old karma, and negative thoughts and patterns. And as we begin to heal ourselves, we recognize the need and desire to reach out and help to heal others, whether it be our family members, our life path, our ancestors, our friends, or even people that we meet along the way. We have the desire to help heal them as well. So we turn back with the learnings, the teachings, and the light to help others. And then collectively, our job is to help to raise the vibration and frequency of the whole planet, and thereby bringing a part of heaven to earth. That's the goal of the One Tribe. It's an individual goal. It's a collective goal, and then it's a planetary or universal goal. And it is for us all to return to the oneness and love, okay? So if you love that message and you said, yes, I want to be a part of that, you already are. Just by saying, I like this teaching, I enjoy this teaching, I want to be a part of it. It costs you nothing but your energy. It requires that you do nothing but be here and show up and do your work. Do your work. That's what we're here to do, is to do the work. All right, 10 reasons why we need to transition or die. Yeah, it's tough. It's definitely tough. Miss Leslie, our angel whisperer, is joining us. I'm so grateful. Thank you, Miss Melissa, and thank you for joining us from Ohio. Number one, I want you guys to repeat the lesson. So everybody needs to type. When you hear me say number one, number two, number three, I would appreciate it if in the chat you would retype what I'm saying or type a comment, a thought, something that means a lot. What is your takeaway? Because sometimes what you're thinking is so similar to what somebody in the One Tribe is going to watch in that future place. They're going to need your comment. Your actual comment is going to make the difference of them learning this lesson and integrating it. Thank you, Gracie, for letting us know you're here and you can't be here the whole time, but we're so happy you're here. Okay. Number one, I want to teach you that there is no death. Now, I know that's going to not sit well with some. People have all seen some little poor cat or dog that were hit on the side of the road, and it is definitely gone. It is roadkill, and I know that's not very sensitive, but if you've ever seen an animal that's been hit by a car and left there, you know that that is not a live animal. That is a dead animal. But this is what I want to teach you. What most people equate death to be is not actually death. So I want you to think of, this is our bodies. This is our bodies. And the body has no animation or illumination until the spirit comes into the body. And we're going to use this little crystal here as a point. So to demonstrate my concept today, I'm going to be using a crystal. This is the soul. Okay, we're going to picture this as the soul. I'm going to actually lower my lights just for dramatic effect. This is the soul of a human. Okay, this soul comes from a heavenly place, a realm, and this soul has lived before. It is not the first time it has been here. Probably won't be the last either. And that doesn't mean there's not a God and that there's not Jesus. All that is still very real, okay? But I want you to know that the body in itself is inanimate. It's just an organic object that houses the soul. So when the soul goes into the body through the power of God, or however you'd like to say it, the soul and the body are always separate until birth, okay? The soul and the body are separate, but then the soul goes into the body and you have a living person, right? Now, this person will live until whatever happens in their evolution, whether it is a biological, an environmental, a disease, or just age deteriorates the body. And it's time for the soul, not the body. The body doesn't need to move on because the body just comes from the earth. If you actually look at a body, it actually is all of the elements of the planet within itself contained, okay? So the body is dust to dust, and it goes back to the dust, and the beautiful energy or essence or soul of the person continues to go on. This is called the transfer of energy. The energy that is this person that you know, your loved one, your mother, your friend, or even your pet, continues to go on, even though the physical body that was formed from the earth goes back to the earth. What animated that body? The essence of the eyes, the thoughts, the feelings, the emotions, the memories, the personality goes with this spirit back into the spirit world, okay? Does that help you understand a little better? It is a transfer of energy. So the energy came down from spirit, went into the person for the lessons that this little person could teach them. Then when they are separate, this body goes back because its job is done. And the spirit goes back to ascend into the oneness of God or to the spirit world. When we realize that the person that we love Grandma Betty is not the body, but Grandma Betty is the spirit within the body, okay? Or your beloved son or daughter who might have transitioned in a tragic way was not the body, but the spirit within the body. We can start then to understand and relieve some of the grief. Now, I want to talk about the body for a minute, and specifically in the passing of children. The passing of a child is the worst thing. I've never experienced it, but I've worked through thousands of other people who have had to experience this tragedy. And I can't say enough about how much I want to assist in the grieving process and how difficult that must be. So I have nothing but love and respect for anybody that has transitioned and has went through that experience. Now, having said that, there is a certain type of grief that I'm going to talk about right now. When the spirit, okay, when the spirit comes down, it chooses its mother or father. This is an absolute fact. No spirits come through, they don't randomly come. All spirit beings come because they have chosen a life path with a mother and a father. And we're going to talk about life paths in another teaching for the Spiritual Academy. But today, I want to say that the reason that the death of a child is so hard, especially for the parent, is that even though their spirit is their own spirit, right? Unlike the physical body of your lover, your brother, your friends, your animals, the physical body of a child comes from the mother. The physical body comes from their mother. So when the body, it comes directly from the mother, becomes implanted with the spirit, the mother has such a deep connection to this body that when the body dies, it's a part of the mother that dies at that time. So they're going to grieve that body so much more intensely than any other type of grief because they, through their own works, created that body. And for them, yes, they know that the spirit is so important and so special, but the body was a part of theirs. So to see a part of their body die is a secondary grief that's so intense and painful. It often presents as diseases and cancers in the future for the mothers. A mother that is bereaved and lost a child has a 40% increase in autoimmune diseases, cancers, and other long-term illnesses without proper grief repair. Okay? Even though they know the spirit is free because the body came from the mother and was made within her own womb, the idea that the body of the mother is dying as well is very difficult. So there's two types of grief. I just want to address that. Now, for everybody else, I want you to think of your spirit. So that's number one. The lesson number one is there is no death. There is only a transfer of energy. So we started like this, we go like this, then we go back to this, and we're still ourselves. We really are still ourselves. It's just that we don't have our physical body, okay? So no death, we just transition energy. We know that energy can never be created really or destroyed. It just transitions from one form to another, okay? Hopefully that'll help you to realize that even though you're struggling with the concept of not having that person there in the physical, as you begin to accept that there is no death and that they do exist in some other realm, even if you're not really familiar with it, it'll help you to open up to communication in a subtle way with your loved ones, angels, and guides, okay? Number two, another reason why people need to transition or to die is because it's time for their timeline review. Remember that if we lived together forever, we would never get an opportunity to review the work and accomplishments that we've had in this life. Let's go ahead and get some comments. Amy says, it's a loss even knowing their spirit is free. Absolutely, Amy. Let's see what Alicia has to say. My daughter grieved her baby son, and I felt every emotion she went through as well. Absolutely, because your DNA, Your cellular, molecular makeup is connected to them energetically so deeply. It's not something anybody can understand. Marty says, great way to teach this. Easy to get the concept. Shorty says, there is no death. Perfect. I love these comments, guys. Keep them coming. Make sure you're doing lots of comments. I love them, as I said. Number 2, review of the timelines. Thank you, Shorty. You were listening when I said repeat them each. If we didn't transition, how could we ever go over our timeline? Because think about everything you've done in your life, everything you've accomplished, everything that you have struggled with, everything that you've overcome, all the people you've met, all the people that have improved you, all the people you have helped to improve, all the addictions or past personality traits that you've worked on and built character with. Imagine if you never got to actually see your progress. So it's almost like transitioning is a way to get your progress report. We get to look at what you could work on next time, what you did really good at, what are your key points, what are your low points. Timeline reviews are very important. And I got spirit here right now because I can feel it in the studio. I'm going to go ahead and put my spirit pod on, even though I'm not doing readings. I definitely want to always honor when spirit joins us, and it is very strong. I have never put my pod there. If it goes off, we're just going to acknowledge spirit and thank you for letting them be with us. I've never put it there, so we're going to see. All right. Let's see what Miss Annette says. Annette says, my mom passed away Christmas Eve from cancer last year. Can she see me, sunshine, and hear me talk to her? This is a great question, and I'm absolutely going to answer it. So a great answer to this is there is a lot of thinking in theology and in the church. As you guys know, I am a reverend and a minister. I don't have an active church. The One Tribe is my spiritual outreach, which will probably one day turn into something that allows us to meet weekly and maybe have some lessons and some spiritual training manuals and things such as that. But the great part of it is I get to teach this concept, which I love, that Spirit gave to me directly. A lot of people in the church, many churches, believe that when you're in heaven, you have no knowledge of anything on the earth. That's what I've heard multiple times. That there is no knowledge of anything that happens on earth and that people in heaven are totally oblivious to what is happening in the physical world. I want to say that that is unequivocally not correct. It is not true. And no matter how many people try to debate this with me, and it is not a popular topic, I'm okay. I will still take my take on it because I have connected to Spirit hundreds of thousands of messages in. And I know that they see us and that the messages they give us are so beautiful and that they are assisting us from the heavenly realms. Now, how do you know this? Do you have scriptures to support this? Yes, I do. For instance, in Revelation, it talks about the saints or the martyrs of God sitting underneath the temple, underneath the tables with the incense pouring out, the altars of heaven. And it says, Lord, how long shall we wait till all of our brothers are being betrayed and beheaded and all these terrible things are happening? And they said, wait just a little bit longer. Also, it says in scripture that when one soul gets saved on earth, there is a great rejoicing in heaven. So we know that there must be a knowledge of this, or else there would not be the ability to see when souls get saved or transition or transmute energy. So yes, absolutely unequivocally, Spirit can see us. Now, do they watch us all the time? That's going to be a topic for a different show. I'm going to talk about how and when you can feel Spirit, and do they watch everything? I mean, everything. Like, do spirits shower with you? Would you like to know that? That's going to be a topic we're going to get to in a future episode. But today, just to answer this question, yes. When you talk to her is the key thing. You're building an energetic bridge. And yes, when you talk to her, she can talk to you back or communicate with you and hear you, okay? Amy says, I felt like my DNA people were my peeps and family except my dad. We were both, and I never felt like my people were really my people except my dad. That's probably a past life connection or soul group connection. So it feels a little deeper, doesn't it? Let's see. It's my mom. She just came through here too. Yeah, I definitely felt spirit so strong. It probably is, Mom. I would agree with that. Lori Blake out of Colorado. She's our One Tribe liaison for Arizona, which we will be building a retreat there in the future. Hello, love. Happy to see you tonight. I am so happy to see you too, love. Thank you so much. Everybody giving greetings and love. Annette says, thank you for that teaching. How many of you enjoyed our first teaching that we transfer energy, we do not have death? Number 2 is timelines to review our life. If we lived forever, let me tell you, the Buddha teaches one very important lesson, which is that everything is in impermanence. Everything is in impermanence. And as I meditated on this concept, what Spirit really told me is that because everything is impermanent, meaning non-eternal, and that there is a timeline for each individual lesson or relationship or struggle or illness or sickness or challenge, because nothing lasts forever, it gives incredible meaning and purpose to your life. If you knew that you can actually just ride a roller coaster 1,000 times and climb to the top and fall off and hit the ground and not die, there would be no purpose or meaning to your life. This is why everybody wants to be a vampire, but no vampire wants to be one. Because it's kind of the human condition of wanting what we can't have and then getting what we couldn't have, and now finding no purpose or meaning in life. If you look at any of those stories of these beautiful, gorgeous, attractive vampires that have all this power and all of this ability to charm and to mesmerize humans and to take advantage of them and manipulate their energy, it's short-lived. Essentially, what happens is they have no meaning in their life and they have no purpose. They're just living, hoping to die, because even in dying, there's finally a mission. And so impermanence gives us a real impression of what's important. That's why we don't want to stay stuck in random situations that recycle our energy endlessly. This is why we want to work toward healing. This is why we want to get things accomplished. This is why when you're stuck in a pattern, you'll start reaching out going, I know I don't have time to keep doing this with somebody. I've got to set boundaries, move on, do something different. So number 2, timelines to review and timelines to have a closure for things gives us meaning and purpose to life, okay? Number 3, another reason why we need to transition. It's not for us. I want you to think about someone that you loved that you have lost. All right. So Tara says, I always learned something new from your teachings. How many of you enjoyed that teaching? Number 2, timelines to review. How many of you love that teaching? And make sure you guys are writing it in the chat, timelines to review. If you write all the numbers down, you're going to go in a contest to win a free reading. So we've only had one person, which is Shorty, and I think Andrea Rockwood, that's actually been repeating our numbers. So make sure you're keeping track and taking notes. This is so good to keep notes. Marty loves it. He's giving clapping hands. Alicia says, I enjoy all your teachings. Did you enjoy that teaching about impermanence? I know I sure did. When Spirit gave it to me, I thought, wow, if everything really could go on forever, then basically there'd be no meaning to anything. There wouldn't be the difference between a special moment and just a regular moment, because all moments would be eternal. And then there would be no importance one to the other. Number 3 is new lessons. New lessons. And new lessons are not really for us. It's when someone else passes away out of our life. This is called new lessons. And when you think about this, I want you to think of when Grandma was here or Mom was here, and you could make her cookies or you could eat her soup, or you could watch a show or just call her on the phone. Yes, it was special. but you didn't really memorize every word she said. You didn't necessarily remember how she made the cookies. You didn't take the time to sit and cut all the herbs with her for the soup. You just don't realize until someone else transitions the lessons that they were there to teach you until they're gone. So a lot of times someone's passing is not necessarily about them, but about the lessons that they teach us. In transitioning, there's like this essence of the person. So as someone passes away and the time goes on, you quit being able to recall every detail of their face or the detail of their voice. You remember it, but you can't really recall it. What did they smell like exactly? But what happens is, as you are remembering them, the only thing that resonates is what were the lessons. I just remember that my mom, she worked so hard to give us a good life and she never complained. I remember my dad had the most blistered and calloused hands and, he would never complain. Or I remember that my grandmother, no matter how tired she was, would make sure that we all had something to eat. Or my father, would spend after work, he'd come home on Christmas Eve and go cut down a tree and bring it to my family. It's not about everything. It's about the little things. And it's the essence of the person that they leave behind, which isn't their whole self, but it's the part that you were supposed to be contracted to learn. Okay. So sometimes those new lessons are about them leaving behind things and then you adding to it. Now, another part of this is, if your mom didn't pass away, you wouldn't have got out of the house and met your new best friend. Or if your ex-partner didn't pass away, you would have never went into a new timeline to meet your companion today, the one you have now. So sometimes someone's transition institutes you taking the lessons they taught you, and sometimes their passing institutes you learning a timeline with a new person. So they leave a void, and in that void, maybe you say, my mom used to do pottery and she was a volunteer. Maybe I'm going to volunteer. My mom passed of breast cancer and I want to help at the hospital. There's an essence of that person they leave with you. And sometimes you feel so inspired and you want to think about all of the nonprofit organizations, the Adam Walsh Foundation for Missing and Exploited Children. That would have never happened had Adam Walsh's little son not had been a victim of a predator. If he had not been so inspired by the essence of his son, John Walsh had not been so inspired by the essence of Adam Walsh to take his time and make his life so purposeful and so meaningful, he has now saved millions of families the trauma and fear of what he went through. So Adam had a lesson, which was to move out of the way and activate John into all of this work that his whole life purpose was supposed to be about. So we got to think about that. Sometimes the person passes in a tragic or sudden way to remind us we need to stop smoking. We need to plant a garden. We need to, think of all the children. And I know I'm going back to that, but there's laws. There was the Amber Alert. That wouldn't have happened had Amber not went missing, and millions of kids have been saved by Amber Alerts. We now have systems in place, and we have registries for pedophiles and things and offenders and dangerous. But if it hadn't have been for one person's transition and the void it left, it created a new lesson for that one that was left behind to help the world in the greater good. So that's number 3, why people pass away or transition, okay? So Caroline says, no death, transfer of energy. Number 2 is to review your timelines. Number 3, new lessons. Andrea says, I love these teachings, Sunshine. Lori says, I love the concept of the new lessons. Yeah, because if we call mom and just get her to tell us, how would we figure it out on our own? A purpose and a reason for everything. Sorry for asking another question, but how do they feel when they see us crying for them? Thank you. I know she's in a better place. That's a great question. And a great way to answer it is, have you ever seen a little baby? Let's picture a little baby girl. Has anybody ever had a daughter or a granddaughter? Or even a son could be the same. But if you've ever seen a little girl, a little baby, okay, your baby or grandbaby crying in the crib, they're very upset. They're crying. They're so upset. How do you feel when they're crying? You don't feel hurt for them necessarily. You don't feel angry or truly upset. You just know that this is a simple fix. You're like, oh, he's hungry. She's tired. They're cold. They have wet clothes on. It's a simple thing as a mother to go over and pick up the little baby and hold them. Spiritual beings that have transcended, okay, they look at us with love and compassion, but they don't cry for us because they were once babies. And when you're a baby, you become a toddler to adult. Adults look at babies and they're able to pick them and comfort them. When you see a baby toddle and fall when they're taking their first steps, you don't cry with that baby, but you understand what they're going through, so you comfort them. That's how spirit feels with us. Okay? Number 4, the body deteriorates. Pick them up, investigate why they're crying. Right, but you as the adult don't take on the childlike innocence of the crying. You fix it and you solve it and you allow them to learn some of their lessons. Number 4 is body deterioration. I want you to remember that when you're in the body, as much as we're comfortable and we like our bodies, we think that our bodies are so great, we're actually scared to leave our bodies. The body is actually so confined and limited that you are 10 times bigger than your body at any given time. How do I express this? Your spirit is this big, but you're living in a space that's this big right now. Okay? So your spiritual essence for visual purposes is this big, but you're living in a space that's this big, right? So when your body deteriorates and isn't a lot of fun anymore through disease or sickness or any of these things, okay, through these actions, I want you to think about, if it's hard enough already to be in such a limited and small space, think of the genie from Aladdin, right? Universal power and cosmic amazingness and a little bitty living space. That's what it's like to be in the body. And I want you to picture a gigantic, enormous morpho butterfly. I mean, the biggest morpho butterfly ever. So if we can imagine like a 2-foot morpho butterfly, this big, but living in a tiny little cocoon. And you picture that cocoon breaking open and it unfolding and unrolling these massive wings that are all wet, and then unfolding them over here. And then them stretching out at the bottom and finally opening up and flapping them gently to get all of the wetness off. And you're getting ready to feel the sun on your wings and you're feeling all of this beautiful energy. You feel fresh and new. You recognize that your spiritual essence or spiritual self is so much bigger and more powerful than your little bitty living space, that when you're ready to go, you're happy that you're out of the body. Okay? That's the best way I know to put it. That's right, Miss Andrea. Hello, Marcy. Hello, Caroline. Let's see. You are opening my eyes so much. Thank God. I'm so happy these teachings. We got 5 hearts. Let's everybody continue to heart, love, like, and share. So if you want to comment on this, I have Facebook. We have Miss Heidi Flynn off of Facebook. We do these every Friday at 6:30 on the YouTube channel. And on Wednesdays, we'll be on at 6:30 as well. And that says, get me out of there. Yeah, exactly. Alicia says the body deteriorates so hard when they don't look like themselves. It makes it harder to even grieve. Yeah, because they're not really. You think about this. If I tied a pair of shoes to your feet the day you turned, say, 17 and your feet quit growing, and I told you that you could never change your shoes. You could wash your shoes, you could clean your shoes, you could dry your shoes, but you could never take your shoes off. Do you know how you'd feel at 60 if you still had on the same old pair of shoes that you had to glue together, tie the laces and knots to keep them there? The rivets have fallen out. The soles are flipping, talking when you're walking. That's kind of like the body. So people are so happy to expand into their larger spiritual selves. And when I've done readings for children that have passed, I say, I want you to imagine him as a beautiful angel unfolding his wings 10 times larger than that little baby body that you pictured him in. And it does help the mothers and fathers to gain a little bit of clarity on it. Okay. So number 5, environmental diseases and environmental factors. We have to die because unlike living 900 years like Noah and Methuselah, we have kind of poisoned our planet with a lot of chemicals and toxins, and therefore our bodies are under attack pretty much from the day we got to the planet till the day we leave the planet. Our bodies are dealing with free radicals, electromagnetic fields, unclean water, food that has been modified. We're dealing with, we've destroyed a lot of our ozone, so we have all kinds of ultraviolet radiation coming in. We have radiation from the appliances we've created. We have all these different environmental factors from chemtrails and different things that are happening around us, and Wi-Fi and EMF, and I can go on for hours just about those subjects, and I will not. I will spare you the conspiracy theories for today. Needless to say, the body definitely is taking on its environmental factors, so it's not able to stay at peak performance, and people that are 90 don't want to live another 90 years in those bodies. A lot of people that have cancer and they're in a lot of pain, they don't want to live another 40 years in a diseased body. It's like having a broken down vehicle or a pair of shoes that are broken down and they never keep your feet dry. They never keep your feet warm. They're always flopping, falling off. The laces are always breaking. It's just not something that you really want to continually invest in, okay? So environmental disease is the number 5 reason why it's okay to transition when it's time. Number 6, the planet does have a max capacity. Now, I'm not a eugenist. I don't believe that we're going to overload the planet and we're all, no, I believe there's a balance in all things. And I think if we hit max reproduction rates, the universe will find a way to get us out of here. So the planet itself would just create natural disaster after natural disaster. Something would happen, an ice age, I don't know. But I know that no matter what, the energy of the planet is always going to stay in balance. So remember that for the planet to support life in a healthy way, there's only supposed to be so many people on the planet. Now, I'm not one to sit here and be like Bill Gates and tell people how many people there should be, and with vaccines we can reduce the, no, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is there's just a balance. There's a balance on the planet, and there's a capacity where there's enough incoming and outgoing souls. So we're just going to say that number 6 is if everybody lived to 900 years and they were having 200 to 300 children, could you imagine the capacity and load that would be on the planet to support the oxygen, the air, the food, the water, and everything else, the industrialism that we would need to support that? The power plants, the contamination of our air and water. So I do want to think about that a little bit, okay? If you're talking about why do people die or why is death a necessary part of life, that's important. Are you on YouTube and Facebook only? Yes. Oh, I forgot to hit my live on Instagram. Shucks, go live. I forgot. Oh my goodness. Okay, there we go. I forgot to go live. Now we're live on Instagram. Thank you for reminding me. Whoops. All right. So we have number 6. A new soul needs to be born. So if someone, whenever you contract to go, meaning to Earth, the Bhagavad Gita, which is the Hindi Bible, it's one of their Sanskrit scrolls or whatever you want to call it. It says in there, which is a very important teaching that I love a lot. It says that to contract to be born means that you have already made a commitment to death. So to be born was to make a commitment to die. And when you come into life, you know that you contracted to die. And the moment that you die and return to heaven, you have already contracted to a rebirth, to ascend your energy to a higher frequency. So recognizing that our souls are in this karmic state of not endless death and rebirth, which I do not believe in, because I see souls go through a life review and they choose their lives very carefully. I do not believe in the cycle of just completely endless death and rebirth. Although you could call it that, there is a conscious effort and actually spirits aren't just thrown into a fly and then thrown back into a pig and then back into a human. I have never seen that. I've seen transmigration from certain life forms all the way up to human. And then from human, I've never seen them transmigrate down or devolve in their development. Okay. So number 6 is that new souls need to be born. If all the souls were living 900 years and each of them are having 200 babies, where is the chance for new souls to be born? It's a natural state to go off the planet and to come back to planet. So if grandmother doesn't pass, then the little granddaughter doesn't get to be born. It's essentially like the balance of all ancestry. There has to be some that go, so there's spirit guides on the other side for us, and some that stay. So there's some in the test, and there's some people teaching and helping from the other side. Does that make sense? So sometimes an ancestor of yours will choose to go off planet because they were already contracted to be your spirit guide in this life. Like me, for instance, I have a grandmother. Her name was Mamie Louise, and she died 1 year almost to the date of my birth. Now, I also had a brother. He died exactly 15 months before my birth. I know both of them were spirit guides for me. And if they had chose to stay, they would have been relinquishing their gift as my spirit guardians, because even though I don't remember them consciously in this life, I do know that we knew each other very well before I came here. Okay. It's actually possible that I was my great grandmother's spirit guide in heaven, and that she contracted to be my spirit guide when I came down. So that's a beautiful thing to remember, is that even though you don't consciously remember these things, because it would make your test completely unfair, you could have lived as a spirit guide to somebody in a less modern time, or even in your own genealogy. Okay. Alicia says, but what if we don't want to come back down here? No one was ever forced to come down here, ever. Everybody that's here made a very conscious effort and decision to come down at the time that they came down, at the race, at the age, and to the place they were born. So actually, you chose all of it. We'll get into that in another spiritual teaching. Why did I come to Earth? So Annette says, yes, my mom passed and I have a granddaughter on the way. So remember that there is a balance in all things and that new souls need to be born. That's number 6. Number 7 is you also have new lives to experience. So you have to transition at some point so that you can take inventory of what you learned and didn't learn, and what karma you gained and what karma you lost. So you might have been a kind person, but you also might have been a generous person, but you also might have been very self-centered. Being generous and being self-centered are so completely different. One is about putting the needs of others before yourself without being instructed to do so, or without being taught to do so. You're internally empathic and care about the needs of others before yourself, which is a high-level spiritual concept. And the other one is generosity, meaning you came from maybe money or prosperity, and you have no problem sharing that because it's not truly a sacrifice for you. Sacrifice would be making you go without a meal, clothes, or sleep to assist another person in their journey. When you transition, you may realize that you kind of missed your mark in one area of your life where you excelled in another. So you also need to take on new roles in your spiritual progression, which may be a new life, or a guide, guardian life, or something else that would help spirit teach you how to progress. So remember that you need to have new lives also. You can't just stay here forever, because maybe you are a blonde white woman living in America in this life, but maybe you will be an African in another life living in a much more impoverished lifetime. So there's lessons for both lifetimes that can't be taught in this physical body. Amy says, if we clean up our karma, can we break the endless chain of death and rebirths? Yes and no. So the Hindi concept, and there's a Buddhist concept as well, that karma is the only reason that we decide to die and be reborn. But what I have seen in my choice, and again, I'm speaking against millions of people and their thinking. I'm not saying that their theology is wrong. I think that if your thought form believes that, that is going to be your reality. My thought form is not that, so that is not my reality. And what I've been taught is that souls do not endlessly get reborn to transmute karma. We actually are much more intelligent and loving than that. And most people actually incarnate to raise their spiritual vibration to get closer to God. It's actually out of love. That's really what it is. Just like Christ was the closest incarnation to God because he got back to complete purity and love and compassion and sacrifice. The Christ represented compassion, sacrifice, and love. His consciousness also represents sacrifice, compassion, and love. And until we can reach that in full perfection, we have to come back and experience different things. But we're not forced to do it, nor are we made to do it. We do it because we want to be closer to God. That's really what it is, okay? Why do souls contract to live long lives like 100 years? It just may not be that they contracted to live 100 years. It may be that the work that they have to do cannot be done in less time. And it's not about the timelines. It's about how long it takes them to accomplish their goals. It might be that they were supposed to meet somebody at 40 years old that was going to help them do something like create cancer research, but that 40-year-old person didn't do it. So they had to wait another 20 years for that person to cross their timeline so they can accomplish something that they were here to do. So it may not be the time, because there's no time in heaven, really. It's all contracts are based on nexus points or activations. It's not based on time. Can we feel, okay, can we feel we're here to learn from our past and thoughts, and our learning is here? Yes. If I'm getting that, I'd like for you to rephrase the question before I answer it, but yes, as far as I understand the question, that would be a yes. Why do we seem to not get past how someone passed, such as murder or brutal deaths? Because you're picturing that the person went through that and you're reliving it in yourself, when actually most spirits don't even have a memory of how they died. They move and transition from the body to the soul form so easily that they don't stay stuck in that as much as humans do, because we're very associated to our bodies and to our pain and to our pain body. So we relive it more than they do. A spirit, once they transition, has no physical memory of any of the pain of their death. It's only humans in our human form that focuses on those things. Okay. Number 6, some of you were meant to be spirit guides. We touched on this earlier, and some other people are meant to be spirit guides. So if they don't transition, they're not fully fulfilling their calling as a spirit guide. Like Miss Annette said, my mother died and now I'm getting a granddaughter. Those things are not coincidence. They're probably highly connected, that that little baby was already connected to the grandmother in past lives or the lives between lives before either of them incarnated. They were probably together. Grandma came down first, with granddaughter being the guardian or guide watching. She may not have been a guide, but she could have just been watching and assisting. And then the grandmother is now transitioning, and granddaughter's time to come down, and now they'll be doing it this way. So again, if you don't transition from the physical body, you cannot become a spirit guide for your loved ones and your progeny. So your children and grandchildren, you can't assist them from the other side. Sometimes when you're elder and you're in your later years, you don't have the physical capacity to help your grandchildren. You don't have the ability to get up and run around with them. You can't go to all of their soccer games. So it may be better for you to transition so you can assist them energetically with your full energy from the other side of the veil. Okay? So when you think of someone dealing with a death, a disability, or a cancer, or really an older age geriatrically, it may be better for them to transition so they can assist you in the energy with their full energetic body. Okay? Any questions about that? Number 7, exactly. Marty says part of a soul group. Part of a soul group, absolutely. Marty can teach on this because I'm pretty sure he lost most, if not all, of his soul group this last year and a half, year to a year. And he's really struggled with being here because he lost his mom. His dad had passed, his mom had passed, and his 2 aunts and an uncle that he loved dearly had passed. And so then he had a near-death experience in May. So he struggled with, and probably still does actually struggle with, those deeper connections of feeling like his tribe is on earth. And so that's something a lot of elderly or elder people can feel. And even some younger people, if there's natural disasters like in Sri Lanka, where there was young people who lost their whole family in the tsunami, they feel very disconnected and struggle with purpose and meaningfulness. At the same time, we have to recognize, if you're here, there is a part of your lower self you're working to transmute so that you can raise vibration and then leave. Nobody leaves unless they're supposed to. And let's see what Joey says. I feel like I am not moving to learn, only existing, not living. And now I see some of my weakness. I am fully accountable for all that happens to me. And now I'm wanting to learn more, do better, like I kind of woke up. That's exactly what spiritual awakening is. It's when we become aware of our own energy and how it affects others and the mistakes we've made. And no one else has to tell us that. We're becoming aware and accepting it. If you're not able to accept your flaws and openly discuss them, you're not spiritually aware, because you're still living in the ego mind, because the spirit sits behind the ego and observes it. Until you can observe it and recognize the ego reacts, the ego speaks, the ego argues, but the spirit sits behind it and observes it, that's where spiritual awakening comes in. But I love what you're saying, Joey. And sometimes it will feel like in your life you are not growing. That's very common, to feel like you're not progressing. But remember, during those times where you feel like you're not, during those times when you feel like you're not progressing, it may be that it's not your time yet. It's almost like a leapfrog. You may have a partner or a child or a parent, and you grew a lot and then nothing. And then you're really kind of dragging them along, and it's not your time to grow, because you can't grow any further, or you'd be so separate you can't even relate to each other. So the other person has to leapfrog, and then you catch up and leapfrog. And that's sometimes how it works, is that we do it progressively. And I can tell you that in all couples, one person is more spiritually advanced and one person loves the other just a little more. And that's totally normal. There's always a guide spirit or a guardian spirit in every contract. There's a contracted where one spirit is higher in one area and one spirit is a touch higher in another area, but they're not the same. So typically And almost all soul contracts, one is more spiritually attuned and one's more physically attuned. So they might have more money or wealth, but this one has more understanding and patience. This one may have addiction. This one may be able to provide more finances. So there's always like a conundrum or a balance. The yin and the yang is how soul contracts are formatted, okay? Joey says, yes, perfect. I am finally seeing myself. Number 7, death is graduation, guys. I know it sounds scary. It feels really morbid and horrible and everything, but death is actually a graduation. Like, finally, I am done. And a lot of people, all spirits are happy to go to the other side. There are no unhappy spirits on the other side, I can tell you. You think of Earth as a vacation because you're in the body and you forgot everything. But when you transition, it's like that you've been in a Mexican prison for 20 years with no sunlight. When you're like, I would never go back to that again. So recognizing that all spirits transition through their soul agreements, and that when we're out of body, we're very happy about that. Death is a graduation. It's a time of celebration for accomplishing whatever you learned while you were here. There we go. Let's see. Perry, can we get some more comments, guys? I'd like to get 5 or 10 more comments. We only have 2 more to finish up, and I want to get everybody's thoughts on it. Parody says, I started noticing me projecting some of my dad's dislikes and likes and behaviors, even as far as preferring coarse ground pepper over fine. Sometimes you take on, when you take people on as your spirit guides, you will take on some of their bad habits, karma, or likes or dislikes. I've seen that with my husband a lot. When we were first married, everybody kept saying, he's his dad. He's his dad. When his dad passed, he definitely stays with him. And what happens is karma or ideas, processes, or thoughts that his father had not fully transmuted will become Marty's work to transmute. Because remember, we're not only healing ourselves, we're healing all of the timelines before us. So you were chosen to change patterns of behavior in your family. That's why you were the one that got left behind. So if you're the one that's left behind from your mom, your dad, your siblings, your grandparents, you're the one that was designated to transmute old ideas and do it a new way. If the old way was good, then they would have stayed here and you wouldn't even need to be here. You wouldn't need to exist. Your existence means that there needed to be an evolution of the way things had been done in your family. And it's time for you to work with that energy and through that energy. So sometimes you can adopt traits and characteristics of your family, for sure. Okay. I just realized I could try a different type of, let me know if this looks better. They just showed me this. I don't know if that looks any better. It says Cinema Layout Shift 8. I just wanted to see if that actually looks any better. Do I look any bigger on the screen? Kind of looks the same to me. Let's try that. Does that look any bigger or any better? I was just curious. To everybody watching me on the television, did that help? Did that change anything? It looks the same. Not sure. Oh my God, yes, timelines. I feel like I am doing it. Sometimes I feel like I'm doing it. Yes. Caroline, I'm stuck. I just feel like I'm just sitting here, even though I keep searching for the answers. Yeah, no change to me. It just got closer. Okay, good. It's okay as long as you're searching for the answer. That means that you're in a circle pattern. And when the student is ready, the teacher always appears. So have no doubt that if you're looking, you will find it. Here's one too. Let's see. There we go. Oh, that's a nice. That's a little closer. I like that one even better. Very nice. Okay. So we're just going to try that real quick. All right. Remember that death is graduation from separation and sickness and aging. And that as we die, we move into the oneness of spirit. So spirit is a oneness. Joey says, I'm learning to be one with it, to be with it and not push away. Yeah, most people are uncomfortable with their feelings, so they push them down, push them away. It's not what you're here to do. If you're still here dealing with it, it's because you're here to deal with it, totally, we can't solve or we can't heal what we don't feel. And we have to feel it, talk about it, open it up to actually explore it and figure out why we're going through it. So until you can't, you have to be able to reveal it to heal it. So that's a good part to remember. Number 8, healing. Your body gets damaged. Nobody wants to live in a damaged body. It goes back to the shoe analogy, right? When we go to heaven, there is healing temples. We get to move through these beautiful temples of white light. We get to be healed of cancers and traumatic deaths, and also abuse or abandonment, neglect, or whatever the soul believes itself to be in the body. A lot of souls that are traumatized will identify with the body so much that they do have to go into these healing temples. And I haven't taught on this much, but if you want to know more about it, you can actually go to Sylvia Brown at Novus Spiritus, and she teaches a lot about the healing temples and how they help people who had traumatic deaths. And I think it's just a wonderful thing to know that everything we do in the healing here is based on the healing there, even the crystals. In the temples there, we have beautiful crystals like this that shine through the lights. The light of God comes through and it hits every point of the body, and it's really powerful. And we have these in Atlantis too. That was me. So healing is important, and it's important that bodies go back to where they came, or not the body, but the spirit body goes back to where it came from so that it can actually heal itself, okay? What do you guys think about that? So we are on number 10 now. We were on the very last one. What have you guys learned from this before we do number 10? Tell me what you guys have learned from this beautiful live. What are you going to take away? What have you learned, and what are you going to take away? Remember to make sure you do your review on Google. I Google my business. And if you guys would like to book a session with me, I am a channel medium. I connect to spirit on the other side. I do life readings. I also do voice activated life coaching to help you with feeling stuck, stagnating, or dealing with trauma, grief, or loss. I also do past life downloads. If you feel like maybe something that you're going through may be associated to a past life, and you just don't know why you can't get over a fear or a phobia, or you feel so challenged but you can't seem to overcome it, a past life download may be an excellent way to get to the bottom of what you need to heal so you can move forward in your life path without being stuck. And number 2 is that we don't do any hypnotherapy. I just receive the download for you and give it to you. So it's a little different in its approach. But if you are looking to do hypnotherapy regression, we actually have Andrea Rockwood out of Menifee, California. She is qualified to do past life regression hypnotic technique through Dolores Cannon. And if you're interested in that, just please reach out in the comments below. My path is www.sunshinefrost.com. All right, let's see. Annette says, I am so glad my mom is not suffering anymore. Yes, amen, Miss Annette. Sandra says, I'm just really feeling at peace with this. Marty says, death is only a step in our path. I always think of death as, well, first of all, I don't think about it, because I know when no one ever dies, they just transition. So I think about it as I'm sitting into a really cold theater, like an ice cold theater in the middle of summer, and the movie has stopped playing and everything is dark, and I just see the exit sign above my head. So I walk toward it, and as I fling open the door, all I see is this bright, incredible light just blinding me, and I can feel the sun shining on me. And I can hear all my friends and family just playing outside this movie theater on a beautiful green grass, waiting for me to join them for the most wonderful picnic. And I know that that really is the way that people die. Death is a doorway. It is a simple, painless doorway when it is your time, and nothing really to be afraid of. J. Cruz says, oh my, I learned so much about life, death, transition, and so much more. Number 9, I missed it. Number 9. We haven't done number 9. That's true. We just went to 10. Andrea caught me up. We actually have 9. The ninth one is that when you are born, it's commitments. So when you are born, you committed to die, knowing that it will be part of the process. And number 9, for you to be born, you had to die to your spirit in heaven. So the scary thing is that when you're born, you actually think that you're dying is the scariest time, but actually for a soul's journey, being born is actually harder than dying. And most people don't realize that when you were born into your mother's womb, that was the scariest, most confined time that you will ever experience in your life. Because you went from being a fully expanded, totally conscious, sovereign individual soul in oneness with God, and you had to take all of this huge energy and put it into this tiny, itty bitty, and it happens a little bit at a time, not all at once. Thank God in his mercy, he understands this. But you have to think about this little tiny body, and you're taking all of this and putting it into a tiny body that cannot move, that is compressed in the womb, that has constant noise. You don't get to choose what to eat, what to drink, if she's screaming, if she's yelling, if there's stress, if she eats or doesn't eat, if she smokes or doesn't smoke, if she drinks or doesn't drink, if she uses substances or does not. You're totally helpless as the being. Then you're born by being crushed so much that your actual brain, your actual cranium has to rearrange itself to go through the birth canal. So it actually puts so much pressure on your skull that the fissures or the lines in your skull have to be able to go together to fit through the birth canal, which I can imagine is incredibly painful. You're squeezed so hard that the amniotic fluid is squeezed from your lungs and your nose out of the body through the birth canal. And then you're born into a world where your nervous system is not developed, where it is extremely cold, extremely loud, very scary, and you're in constant pain for the first bit of your life, not really experiencing the world so well. And I can always tell if a spirit is new to the world, right? Because they scream and cry all the time. They're not used to this super high, hyperactive, the hyper sensations of all of it and the overstimulation. You can tell a baby that hasn't incarnated for a while because they're so sensitive to everything and they cry about everything. They're not used to this environment. Whereas a very happy baby that's very well alert very quickly after birth is someone that had just been here. This is like very recently incarnated spirit. I would say less than 100 years. There's somebody that is kind of still used to the game. They're hip to the game. You know, they kind of know how to play Minecraft, so to speak. And you can tell the difference in just the way that they are birthing. Okay, so number 9 is being born. Is someone smacks your butt as soon as you get here. You get your pee-pee skin cut off. You get needles stuck in you. You're passed around by a bunch of strangers. You're freezing. You have no clothes. And then you spend the first 3 or 4 years of your life not being able to feed yourself, change yourself. You sit in wetness. You sit alone. You sit in the dark. You may be abandoned. You may be hit. You may be mistreated, screamed at, resented. You don't know what you're coming into. It's quite helpless and quite scary to be born. When you die, you already know exactly. You're taking all of your lessons, all of your intellect, all of your power and control back, and you're moving into the expansion of your spiritual self. Whereas being born is like the reverse and taking all of your power and sovereignty away to be totally helpless to your parents. So if you have a very dominant father and you have somebody that controls and dominates everything and you can't have your own feelings and your own wants and your own likes, you're going to be at a detriment. Even if he loves you, he's going to raise you to realize that no one cares about your inner needs or desires. And there's narcissistic tendencies that are birthed out of that as a child. There is, different things that happen on the life path. So number 9 is the commitment of death and rebirth, that being born is the hardest and most painful thing you'll ever do, whereas dying is the easiest and most painless thing you'll probably ever do. And number 10, remember that soul groups are contracts and they are not always complete. I mean, most people here think that everybody that's in their family is all they have. It's all they'll ever have. The truth of it is, though, you actually have more spiritual family on the other side than you ever have at any given time on earth. So even if you have 5 or 6 people that you know, or 3 or 4 people that you know here, you transition to be with those other people, because you might have a relationship that lasts 50 years with a mediocre partner, but your true soulmate is actually on the other side, guiding you while you were here in this relationship that seemed difficult, because they were actually, if they had transitioned and been born with you, you and your soulmate wouldn't have taught each other much, because there's not a lot of conflict or difficulty to the relationship, right? So you needed them to be on the other side guiding you while you were in a more difficult relationship to learn the lessons. So remember that not all of your spirit group is incarnated on earth at the same time. So when you transition, you get to be with people that you forgot you knew until you get there. All right. So number 10, soul groups are not always complete. So that is our number 10 reasons why it is okay to die or transition. And I did want to put a part in here about self-transition. Self-transition or suicide is never an option that you should consider. It actually doesn't stop suffering. In fact, every soul that I've ever seen that is taken on this path, either accidentally through overdose or through active self-transition, has to come back and complete all of their lessons again anyway. So you escape nothing, and you basically start at the beginning of your life path. So all of your earned credits are gone. It's like game over. All of your avatars and your extra energy, it's just gone, and you got to come back and learn it all again. So rather than escaping it, you just recreate a new life path where you have to come back and do it again. So if you're ever thinking about that or you're having those thoughts, please make sure you reach out to someone. I know there's a national suicide hotline. And if you're watching this video now or into the future, please comment and know that we appreciate you. The past life download was the best breakthrough for me. My life has changed so much since then. Yeah, it was amazing. We did a past life for not regression, a past life teaching. It was a download from her Akashic record. Akashic record is a record that tells the experiences of all your soul's lifetimes. And I'm able to communicate through channeling to the guardians of her Akashic record. And while I do not receive the whole record, I receive the parts of her energy that is stuck in previous timelines, just like walking through or running through a rose field and getting pieces of your cloth or clothing caught on different thorns. That's what happens with some people's energy, where they're getting parts of their energy is still moving, but other parts are pinned down, like pin the tail on the donkey with the chakras. And so part of it's spinning and part of it is so stuck. So we were able to go into Miss Kelly's and find out that she had almost the identical lifetime right here with the same person, the same husband. It was a different manifestation, but the same lessons were being set up to be recreated, to be learned all over again. And once she realized that, she let go of the grief, the anger, the resentment. Her husband was able to let go of it, and they were totally able to accept the download, integrate the knowledge, transmute that darkness, cut the soul ties to these people, and now we're moving forward with a massive amount of success. So happy about that. What a beautiful teaching. I'm glad I am still here. Thank you so much, Miss Joey. Hello, Selah. It is incredible, you know. I just started being able to do those past life review downloads really only in the last year since I did Next Level Soul. If you want to know more about me, you can actually watch my session on Next Level Soul with Alex Ferrari. It is a fantastic show, probably one of my favorite podcasts in the world for video, for YouTube. And Next Level Soul did a podcast with me, which it's called My Month in Heaven. And it talks about my near-death experience and what I experienced in my near-death experience. It was a condensed version, but still pretty interesting. I hope you guys will watch it and comment. Kelly says, it allowed me to make sense why my life is occurring the way it is right now. Also, I'm making different decisions now and growing forward so fast. I can testify to that. We do sessions once a week. Her and I meet once a week. I meet with her, and I also meet with her husband Cam, and I coach them on multiple different things. And Spirit has never disappointed on how many wonderful things are happening for them and are always happening for everybody when we're open to Spirit. Being born, my grandbaby. Being born is difficult, but it's why we should praise every newborn baby, because they're actually the warriors of life. Joey says, where do we watch this? Just go to YouTube and type in Sunshine Frost or NLS Next Level Soul. All right, everybody, this is the end of our show. We're at 1 hour and 20 minutes. I hope you guys will love this and watch this and all previous episodes, and make sure that you guys comment, like, and share. Please heart the other comments and the other people. Also, please send this to your family and friends so they can start watching us. We have just a tiny little piece of YouTube, and it's just a little sliver of content. But we are hoping to continue to grow the One Tribe on YouTube so that we can reach the rest of our One Tribe spiritual family around the world. I hope all of these teachings help you, and if they do, make sure you send a heart, like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, remember that you are God's expression of love on the planet, so please be kind. Bye, everyone.